this is Paul. Yes. Uh-huh. Just reading that free copy of Tone at the top. Yes. Mhm. Budgeting the internal audit function. Yeah. Mhm. Now, one hallmark of a successful internal audit function, yes, is that it is properly resourced. Mhm. Chief audit executives must ensure that internal audit resources are appropriate, sufficient, and effectively deployed to achieve the approved plan. Mhm. Now, according to the IIA's International Standards for the Professional Practice of Internal Auditing, yeah, board and audit committee members are similarly responsible for approving the right level of resources. Yeah. Now, I think this is so important to each and every state, county, city, and government of the United States of America. Yeah. Now, each company, these corporations, yeah, defines their audit universe differently depending upon the size and scope of their audits. Yes. Why don't you get me the approximate amount of currency that each and every corporation of the United States has in foreign currencies that are licensed to do business in the United States that well, we looked at the currencies of independent nations. Now, I would like to know these internal audits of every company. Yeah. That has any of their actual resources in foreign currencies? Yes. Yes, yes. Because you understand how important the audit is. Yeah. The Institute of Internal Auditors Incorporation. Yeah. Is a professional global association with more than 190,000 members in more than 170 countries and territories. Yeah. Now, the IIA serves as the internal audit profession's chief advocate, international standard setter, and principal researcher and educator. Yeah. Now, I'm thinking we need to have some audits because these courts don't seem to really believe that there's any actual laws of the United States, and I wanted to know those that are employed as actual employees of the government that assess the risks. Developing a complete audit universe helps ensure that nothing is overlooked. Oops. Let's say you had a large number of lawsuits, tort lawsuits, criminal lawsuits, and civil lawsuits involving what could be $1 trillion of damages. You should have considered the velocity of risks or the speed at which risks are likely to develop. Yeah. Now, I had a really good explanation of velocity. Yeah. I was working with an employer when I worked at the Center for Micronesian Empowerment. Yeah. I called it the velocity of money. Now, what happens is, let's say on Guam, right, you're spending $15 billion for the Marine buildup to move the Marines from Okinawa to Guam, and that's why we moved there. Yeah. Well, you pay the general contractor, right? That pays the subcontractors. Yes. That pays for the materials. Yes. That pays for the shipping. Yes. That pays for the employees. Yeah. That pays for the housing and the food and the expenses of their actual income. Now, from my own rough estimate, yes, I considered the velocity of money to be 6 times the actual expenditure of what was spent on the project itself. Because money that has its own velocity, yes, let's say you have $1 billion, it can affect 6 times the amount of buying and selling depending on how you spend that money. Now, let's say this government shut down approximately 600 to 800,000 federal employees. Yes, are not able to affect or be active in the employment of executive orders because you're the president, you want a $5 billion wall. Yeah. And it violates all the executive orders of all the previous administrations to not employ them because your mindset is that when we spend $5 billion, The velocity of money would equate it to $30 billion in actual velocity. Now, this shit about right now, Pouch, give me the executive orders that have authorized the spending of any assistance, grants, or employees of the federal government that are necessary because of the administration's executive orders that allows for the the really what's more than employment, the law requiring, the rule of law requiring that executive orders have to be enforced. Now, I noticed that a large number of law enforcement personnel, Homeland Security, the post office, for some reason they're not able to take time off of work because of this $5 billion snafu. So get me all the internal auditors of each and every department of the federal government. And then the various agencies, divisions, and the spending of the auditing of the actual taxpayer. Now, I'm needing to go through these 170 countries. So when you go through the World Factbook, I just want to make sure that we have a significant audit plan. To have a quick response to the unplanned auditing of every executive order of every administration that said it was the law. Now, these executives, in the centers you can see here, this 70% greed. Oh my gosh. Now, somebody's real being a stick in the mud about this fucking wall problem. I'm thinking I might have to sue the president if he doesn't get off his ass right now. So just give me the actual employees that when you have an executive order, it must always, getting the most from your internal audit. Perform solid risk assessments. Now, for every employee of Child Protective Services that's getting paid as well as the independent state agencies that employ them, get me their audits of the risk assessment, of refusing to enforce the laws. And then there's Embrace. Some automated audit tools and analytics. Computer-aided tools can enable auditors to capture and analyze big data in real time. Could you get me the actual software? The desktops. The government provided tools that Child Support Services uses to monitor the child support that is paid in each and every state. The IP addresses, the remote locations, and the telecommuters that say, well, I'm not going to go in today. I'm going to write my reports from home. I'm going to need to know all the personal computers of every city, county, state, and tribal government, as well as all federal employees that have government paid for software on their home computers, because they just can't do the commute the way you would think they want to. Now, these computer aided tools that are provided by the federal government or the state government, let's do some analytics exactly right now. Now, I'm thinking we need more auditors to coordinate plans scheduled with other insurance providers.